Day 2 of the budget debate continued in the upper chamber today with considerable attention focused on the salaries paid to ministers of state. This after it was reported in the House of Assembly last week that former State Minister Zhivargo Lang reportedly took home substantially more than his counterparts. Our Janelle Noel Ferguson was in the chamber for those arguments.
It's an issue that has stirred up much controversy in the past few days, the salaries of ministers of state. And according to Senator the Honorable Frank Smith, former Minister of State for Finance, Senator the Honorable Zhivargo Lang, took home $120,000 annually, much more than the other three so designated.
If a mid-year budget was presented, it would have been shown to the public that the former Minister of State for Finance was collecting a fat paycheck of $120,000 a year. $120,000.
Senator Lang denied this claim, explaining what he and the other ministers of state were paid and why.
I received the same salary that every minister of state received, and it was not $120,000. Okay, it was not. I also received a housing allowance, as did every minister who did not reside in New Providence. And in that administration, there were 4 such ministers. Okay, and so for this member to suggest that I had a take-home pay of $120,000 is untrue.
Attorney General and leader of government business in the Senate, Senator the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, intervened and called for further evidence.
When he does speak on the matter, would produce the evidence, he says that all ministers who did not reside in New Providence received a housing allowance. We accept your word that you received a housing allowance. But there is certain information that has come to our attention, and in the interest of complete disclosure, and I'm sure that it's in your interest also to make complete disclosure, I wonder, Mr. Vice President, whether when he speaks, he would produce that evidence. And until then, I'm not sure whether or not there needs to be any withdrawal, because he hasn't, the honorable member has not produced any evidence that refutes at all what the honorable member here has said.
I did not pay salaries. But the Cabinet of the Bahamas took a decision, of which I was a part, that every minister who did not reside in New Providence would receive that housing allowance. I was the only minister of state who did not reside in New Providence. The other 3 portfolio ministers were portfolio ministers who did not reside in New Providence. That was the difference in respect of me and a minister of state.
Now, according to budgetary provisions, ministers of state are allotted $60,000 a year, along with $28,000 for being a member of the House. They are also offered an additional $5,000 for personal allowances, totaling some $93,000. Lang opted to lay aside the matter, stating that he will address it during his contribution. Janelle Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Also contributing to the budget communication this morning was Senator Cheryl Broussard. She described the budget as a transformative one, which comes at a challenging time in the country.
The budget communication, it is noted that there were contracts entered into involving the payment of public monies therewith. This budget, therefore, sets the tone and course of no deficit-funded giveaways. This country can no longer bear it. In addition to being a transforming budget, it is also a reforming budget that seeks to repair the disastrous model of economic growth that created these debts. The reduction of the stamp duty rate from 12% to 10% and the cap on real property taxes seek to stimulate those sectors I mentioned earlier, which would now positively affect our small business sector.
Opposition Senator the Honorable Heather Hunt says the government was not ready to govern on day one, and after 43 days of governance, they've little to show to the Bahamian people. According to Hunt, murders continue to climb, and the urban renewal program hasn't changed compared to what the F&M government left in place. She applauded the government for not bringing new taxes this fiscal period, but said tax reductions will not impact the average Bahamian.
In particular, I highlight that stamp duty on certain transactions over $250,000 will be reduced from 12% to 10%. And room tax in Grand Bahama reduced from 10% to 5%. Again, I applaud those initiatives. However, there's more to this story. This is not all just accolades. Okay? These tax reductions, Madam President, do not affect or do not immediately affect the regular man on the street. Rich people, Madam President, rich people with these two tax decreases in particular, rich people are the PLP putting first. The wealthy persons who are getting the stamp tax reductions, or the tourists who will immediately feel the room tax reduction in its pocket.
Now, Hunt added that for a government which claimed it had a workable crime plan, the Christie administration is depending too heavily on the community for ideas because its plan has not been executed. As the Shadow Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture, Senator Hunt said she was disappointed that no new programs for young people were identified or money allocated for any new programs.
As a young person, it was disturbing to review the budget and realize that there has been no allocation for not one new youth program. Madam President, I wonder what the government that claims to be ready from day one. No new ideas. But Madam President, thank goodness that the F&M in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture and other ministries, but in particular, I speak to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, left systems and programs in place.
A new Bahamian company wants answers after observing foreign laborers reportedly doing jobs they say Bahamians can do. Bahamas Striping is upset over foreign stripers they say are currently working on 3 road projects: the New Providence Road Improvement Project, the Sports Center roads, and the Chinese Airport Gateway. They say they're quite capable of doing the work, which includes marking up road traffic arrows, and they've done it many times before. President of Bahamas Striping, Attirio Mitchell, says he would like the labor and immigration officials to check on whether or not the foreigners are adhering to prescribed regulations and the circumstances under which these foreigners received work permits. He also wants National Insurance Board executives to check adherence to NIB contributions as prescribed by law, especially considering that many Bahamians are out of work. Now, we called the Works Ministry for a response, but we were told that the permanent secretary wasn't able to speak with us.
Welcome to tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Let's take a look at what's making business news today. The Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, in conjunction with the Haitian Embassy, will hold an information session on business and investment opportunities in Haiti next Monday at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel. Chamber officials believe that as Haiti's redevelopment continues, there's a need for expertise in a number of areas which provide business opportunities for enterprising businessmen. Haiti's Special Ambassador for Investments, Gregory Meves, will provide insight into the areas of opportunity for investment in Haiti. The Bahamas Financial Services Board's immediate past chairman, Craig A. Gomez, urged the Bahamas to look beyond financial services when seeking to attract Asian and Brazilian investors to these shores, after the 2012 World Wealth Report identified both regions as the fastest growing markets for high net worth individuals. In international business, the United States Federal Reserve has cut its forecast for economic growth in 2012 from 2.9% to 2.4%. It has also predicted a central unemployment rate of up to 8.2%, having forecast up to 8% on April. Remember, you can send us an email or join us on www.znsbahamas.com or become our friend on ZNS's official Facebook page. And that will end tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Thanks so much for watching.